shared decision making in our Asheville community. Meg and Tom and I are going to support you through this. You're going to work a little bit as a whole group, but primarily with the groups that you're at the table with. So I would ask folks to start to saunter back to their table so they can join the group. I want to just begin by saying that I was fortunate enough to go and learn human-centered design about 4 years ago at the New York School of the Arts. And as a quality improvement person, it's very akin to everything we know about quality improvement. And yet, the tools that I've learned and used, it's remarkable. It's kind of a magical experience. You never know what's going to come out of it. And so I just want to share with you a little bit before we get going into actually the second part of this, which is stakeholder mapping. Everyone will have an agenda, I think, to give you an idea of our roadmap for this period of time. I'm going to just ground you a little bit about what our design challenge is and a little bit about human-centered design, what to expect. And then we're going to do stakeholder mapping. We're going to use these tools after that to do what's called 5E mapping. So we're going to create an experience, a complete coherent experience. And then the groups are going to develop a concept poster and present it. And then we're going to have what's called visualize and vote, where we're going to have dots and vote on the elements and the posters that we prefer. So that's what's up for us over the next hour and a half. Okay? So our challenge, if you look on the back page, so again, the final product will be a toolkit. But to get there, what we're challenging you today is, what is the message, the delivery system and or format, and the necessary conditions to inspire a grassroots movement among individuals living in Asheville to speak up about what matters to them in terms of health and wellness, and to participate in and expect shared decision-making. I'll take a moment and pause. And I think it would be good to just hear, are there any folks who have comments about the challenge?
Could you read it one more time?
Sure. So what is the message, the delivery system and or formats, both system and formats, and the necessary conditions to inspire a grassroots movement among individuals living in Asheville to speak out about what matters to them in terms of health and wellness, and to participate in and expect shared decision-making. So I will remind you of this again, because this is the frame that I want you to, in working in your groups, kind of remind each other, hey, this is what we're trying to get to. And that's an important piece to hold in your head. So I think the thing that I love about human-centered design is it is exactly co-creation. It's about bringing groups of individuals together. Everyone is equal. Everyone has an expertise to bring to it. And the idea is great design begins with understanding human need. It's also based on empathy, both from an intellectual level, but also an heart-based emotional level. And to me, that is the biggest difference between quality improvement and other approaches to improvement and design, creating solutions, is that what's really important that we stay grounded in our empathy as we go forward. The other thing about human-centered design is it really focuses on creation. Creativity comes from a different part of the brain than analytical thinking. So for some people, this will be a little uncomfortable, but really going to encourage you to let your intuition guide you and be willing to actually just put out as many ideas as you have, whether they're crazy or not. And then we're also focusing on this real outcome, which will be this toolkit. And of course, whatever it is that we come out with, we will need to be tested and iterated, and nothing is ever complete. So those are the basic principles. What you can expect is all of the exercises are going to be time boxed, meaning it's going to be time to stop wherever you are, and it's intentional. So I really want to encourage you just to try to get into a flow. Everybody's brains work differently. Some people are quick to have ideas flow, some people are slower, and that's okay. Ultimately, you also want to trust the wisdom in the group. So we have 7 tables, and the idea that any one table has to think of everything, let that go. Together, we're going to come up with solutions that will be the best. And then when we do the voting, what we're going to do is intentionally draw from the best work. So again, it's trusting the group's work. Talked about intuitive wisdom, creative, crazy ideas, and don't worry about logic. Don't overthink things. Just allow yourself to be in a flow. And then the other thing that can be difficult for folks is we're going to start by opening it up wide. We're flaring. We're generating. So typically, out of 100 ideas, there'll be 2 or 3 really good ones. So we are going to intentionally just make it really wide, which for some people that blows your brain apart, and don't feel like you have to hold it all in your brain. And then we're going to start narrowing it and focusing. So just again, from a standpoint of resiliency, if you notice that, oh, this is really hard for me because I can't deal with all those pieces of paper on the wall, just take a breath and realize that we will eventually focus. So, any other thoughts, Meg or Tom, that you might have about? So, we're going to start by, I would like everyone to just take a moment. We're going to actually use some somatic experiencing to get ourselves in our bodies and out of our heads. So let's just begin by orienting ourselves. As mammals, it's really important for us to feel safe. So just take a moment to orient yourself to where you are. Slowly, just look at the corners of the rooms. And kind of notice what's happening with your breath as you do that. You're here, right now. No, you don't need to look at anyone. Many people don't want to be looked at. Look at the floor, whatever it is, just to kind of allow yourself to come to the room. And when you're ready, you can take a moment and you can close your eyes if you want. You don't have to. But just focus in on your heart. And imagine if there was just a little feather lifting up your heart. The support of that feather just connecting and lifting up your heart. And I invite you to think if there's someone that you would like to bring into the room with you. It's like an ancestor, so to speak. It could be somebody living or dead. And just invite them to be here. And they will be holding that feather and holding your heart. And when you're ready, you can wiggle your feet and your thumb on the chair, fingers, just come back to here and now. So the first thing that happens in design is you need to focus on who you're designing for. So typically the stakeholder mapping takes longer than we have today. So for the sake of time, I began, so if you look over here on this wall, is a stakeholder map. It's not complete. So we're going to start with a half-finished map. We're going to take probably the next 10 minutes, and here's the task. Look for you or your constituency, who you might represent, and see if it's featured. If not, I welcome you to come up and draw it. Stick figures are fine. Stick figures are fine. Or you can reach out to somebody else and ask them to draw it. The other thing is, we want to know what the voice is for all of the stakeholders. So I'm also going to invite folks who feel, inspired to do so. If you are feeling particularly aligned with the government stakeholder, that either as a constituency, what is the voice? So when we think about a toolkit to inspire participation and shared decision making, what is the voice of government in terms of the benefit or the need? And so we're going to spend the next 10 minutes with everyone in this room. Not everyone has to get up, and I doubt that we could actually, it's not that everybody has to get up, but we'd love it from as many people who feel inspired to come up and put voices. You can draw like a little bubble, the voice, the need, and add to any stakeholders and the voices that are missing. okay? And we're here to answer any questions, so I'm just gonna, yes, Amy.
Can you read what
Yeah.
those different groups represent?
So this is faith and community, so faith groups. Schools, community advocates, community resources, businesses, all the payers, government, employers, this is the healthcare system, parents and families, and then just community.
Again, we're thinking Asheville.
Yeah, this is for the Asheville area.
And these are great big buckets, obviously.